Good day to you. Let us take a look at the chapter Development of HRM. What comes to your mind when I take the names of the best organizations in the world, the great places to work, the Google, the Marriott, and our own Indian companies, TCS, Infosys? The beauty of all these organizations and the reason for their meteoric rise is their people practices. Now, what is HRM? How it has developed over the years? What are the perspectives involved is what we're going to deal in this chapter. Let's move on to the next slide. The development of HRM. The historical development of personnel management. What are the stages through which personnel management has evolved? The shift towards human resource management as an alternative approach. Now, what is a traditional approach and what it is today, the reason for the shift that we are going to explore. The role and tasks of human resource management. What is the team inside the organization, the HR team, doing to align with the business strategy? What are their roles and tasks? The involvement of line managers in HR practices. What are the line managers doing to align the HR practices in line with the business goals? And what is the training that the HR people are going to give for the line managers to imbibe the HR practices? Let's look at the definition of personnel management. It is that part of management concerned with people at work and with their relationships within an enterprise. So we have to focus on 2 points: people and relationships, and that it is a part of management. As I mentioned earlier, people are the most important resource in an organization. No matter what your technology is, what your level of investment is, if you don't have the right mix of people, you are not bound to grow. So concentrating on people is what this HRM is all about, and it is a part of management. Just like your other areas of management, say marketing or finance, now human resource management is as important to the survival of an organization. Let us move on. The historical development of personnel management. Now, it has grown through stages, as is the case with any topic. This has gone through several stages. The first being the welfare tradition, and it moved on to the industrial relations tradition, then with the control of labor, then with professional tradition. What was a welfare tradition? The beginning of the 19th century, because of the rapid industrialization, the entrepreneurs felt that they had to look after their employees' well-being. So they started giving housing facilities, they took care of their health, they started providing education for their children. This was more of a welfare concept. I have to look after my employees so that they become willing labor and suitable labor. As we move on to the next step, the workers started getting unionized. They were forming into groups. They started fighting for their rights. As more and more legislations came in, what happened was it went into a movement called the industrial relations tradition, wherein focus was on negotiation, conflict resolution. Then came a stage, the control of labor tradition, wherein HRM was more on the aspects of work, job design, absenteeism, productivity, the number of days lost because of accidents, and timekeeping. So it was more of a control nature. And then we moved on to the next, what we see today, professional tradition, wherein HRM is in total alignment with the business strategies. HR managers take on the role as professional advisors and consultants from within an organization. Let's take a look at Mr. Ricardo Semler, who transformed HR practices in his company, his group of companies, Semco Enterprises. Let's take a look at what he has to say on the traditional models.
Why are people not adopting your methods? What's holding them back?
Basically because it takes a leap of faith, that they are in a situation which they think they feel they're in control, and the way we do things means giving up control. And people don't give up control easily when they are apparently in power. And so it's very difficult to adapt because people have no real motivation to take that leap of faith personally.
Because one of the things that you were saying was that traditional corporate structures derive directly from the military.
Oh, absolutely, and therefore control is a fundamental issue. And if you have a plan and you have a strategy and you have a mission and you have places to go, you're going to end up following that process no matter what.
When you have a really huge organisation, though, several thousand employees, how do you run it along horizontal lines and not end up with chaos?
I mean, in our case, we have 5,000, and it's big enough to deal with that issue. And we find that there's really no fundamental difference between a company with 100 people or 5,000, because nobody deals with more than a half a dozen or a dozen people at a time. And if you respect that and you realize that it's really just a many small groups and you treat them as small groups, the issue of bigness goes away.
As you would have seen from the video, Mr. Semler emphasizes the fact that it is about giving up span of control, giving more importance to the people, who are actually behind the success of your company. So there's no wonder why Mr. Semler's company is scaling great heights. Moving on. From the models, what we could understand is that the HR practitioner has evolved over the ages through 4 stages. The personal practitioner as a welfare worker from the welfare tradition. Now, he was a representative of the management because the entrepreneurs were involved in social reform and philanthropy in the course of seeking suitable and willing labor. So the personal practitioner's role was more of a welfare worker. And then he evolved into an industrial relations negotiator. As we had seen, the phase was more of unionization and the workers were getting into a labor union mode. So he had to take on the role of a negotiator, resolving conflicts, getting into agreements, representing the management and having talks with the workers. So it was more a role of a negotiator. And then he moved on to the role as a bureaucrat. The personnel manager started following the directions of the management in terms of job design, checking the absenteeism, productivity levels, more of a time management and a control approach. And then he moved on to become the professional as we see today, giving strategic advice and consultation work from within an organization